Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent game to share with you from the ongoing Top Chess Engine Championship Season 28 Premier Division, round 46 of 56, played August 19th. On the white end's Leela Chess Zero, rated 3692, playing against KomodoDragon, rated 3620. Alright, with this one, what do we have? We are looking at the Semi-Slav Defense. A6 is the accelerated Moran variation. We're not at the start position just yet. I want to point out a thing or two before we get there. The next move towards the start position is C5. One of the moves Black would really like to see is a bishop move. You will see about 250 games in the Leela Chess Masters database with this. Black scores well in reply to a bishop d3, wins more often than white. Black is prepared to expand quickly on the queen side if bishop d3 in the following way. Regardless of where the bishop goes, Black is in a spot to continue this strike at white center. b5 has the support of the a6 pawn. All right, in this one, after a6, it is c5, knight bd7, b4, and after a5, that is our start position. Now, the top move here is with b6. You might see a3, and at some stage, Black will look to play a5 and pursue a bad for good bishop exchange through a6. All right, a5, this is our start position. The first move of this game, Leela plays b5, bishop e7, more pressure on c6, covered, and now b6 with tempo. Regardless of where the queen goes, she's already out of safe moves. Goes to b8 in a spot to support a break. Black has to shoot for e5. How else do you free your pieces, open the position, create some room for your pieces? Aside from b6 having a cramping effect on Black's position, these two have an influence on these two. Neither major piece I have highlighted here has a safe move. Light square bishop doesn't have a legal move. Aside from this cramping effect, something else that sticks out to me by including b6 is this a5 pawn. Sort of stranded now. It doesn't show up in this game, but I imagine there are plenty of cases where white can put two pieces on this and simply win the pawn. So maybe something like this, fixing it with a4, and then putting a knight on b3, and opening up this diagonal, and there you go. A pawn ready to be swiped. All right, we continue here with queen c2, castles, h3, e5 break. As white, you sit, maintain d4. If ever pawn takes, c5 secure, b6 secure, b7 long-term a target for Leela. Not a single pawn or piece exchange, still plenty of ways to get at b7. And if it goes, the b pawn goes 2 steps out. Now, this is the first moment where we see this tension. White is not inconvenienced by it. White can wait all day with this tension. No problem. White is not inconvenienced. How do we know this? Let's compare these knights. These are the main pieces that compete for the e5 square. If this knight moves too soon, and it wants to move, this pawn would fall, and this strong chain would remain. Why does this knight want to move? Well, because if it doesn't, the whole queen side does not play. This knight interferes with the whole queen side. This knight doesn't interfere with a single white piece. White can wait all day with this tension, and should. What we have from here, bishop e2, staying clear of d3, and a fork. Follow up from here is g6. If e4 is played, knight d2, bishop b2. It's looking forward to queenside castles. Maybe in a line like that is where we could one day see white go hunting for the a5 pawn. Okay, in this one, g6, castles, rook e8, a pawn fixed, regrouping here for black with bishop f8, bishop d2, knight h5. This knight still hasn't moved. It seems like white is going to be the one that could continually wait much longer. I mean, eventually the knight's going to have to move to free these pieces. White's probably the side who can make many more meaningful, useful moves with this tension still on board. After knight h5, we have queen c1. Now, this one was a bit of a head scratcher for me. Here was my initial thought. I thought that the point was to cover f4. Maybe that shows up in some lines, but not this one here. In response to queen c1, we have knight d to f6. I was thinking, okay, if ever a capture pawn takes, there's no knight f4, you have that one covered. But here's the thing, even if that knight did go into f4, so let's say something other than queen c1, rook a to e1, this would not be a good idea for black. It says you could simply play around this piece, and you're in a better spot to compete for this open file. Very good coordination here for white. So this is what I came up with. I believe 1 point behind queen c1, there may be some idea connected with a quick rerouting of the light square bishop, d1 to b3, and a possible sacrifice on d5. It's tough to illustrate an exact line, but I don't believe this queen c1 move is directly connected with eyeing or keeping out this knight move to f4 should there be a capture on d4. All right, after queen c1, it is knight d to f6. So now this pawn seems to be up for grabs. Leela does not go for it. What we have is rook on f to d1. Why not the capture on e5? Well, in response to knight or pawn takes, it says you could go for an exchange sacrifice. Let me touch on this one first. If knight takes on e5, it says you go for the exchange sacrifice and play this position. Evaluation about plus 0.7. c5 is maybe going to fall in some cases. If white responds to this last move with first pawn takes, it says you could yet again go for the exchange sacrifice, or even be full in a way, claim that, okay, I got what I wanted, I'm satisfied here. You don't have support over c5 anymore. So it's looking at knight e4, targeting this point for a second time. Okay, Leela doesn't flinch, keeps this tension for another move. We have rook d1, and finally, black releases the tension. We see e4. So now this rook is a little awkwardly placed. There isn't going to be anything exciting happening on the d file, but okay, it is locked, and there's going to be plenty of time to do to make regrouping moves, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that from this point on. How many fixed pawns do we have now? 10. Okay. From here it is knight h2, knight g7, nothing happening on the d file. Hops to the f file, looking forward to a break and play, not so fast. Touch the f pawn now, knight g3 can be irritating, tracking the better bishop. Leela shifts gears. Now it's these next handful of moves that really flow very logically, many of them permitting a new legal move. Let's see what this looks like. King in the corner. This allows rook g1, follow up g4, and g4 allows rook g2, rook g2 allows queen g1, and queen g1 allows rook f1. Look at this reorganization. This battery on the g file, rook on f1 supporting an f-pawn advance, and you would think that once you have this arrangement, you're finally ready to go, one way or the other. But no. Leela says I can still do better before opening the position. Works on the bishops at this stage. Plays bishop d1. Now, bit tricky to really figure out exactly what's going on with bishop d1. Here was my initial thought, okay, this square has opened up for the knight. Maybe in some lines this would show up. Knight e2, knight f4. Can't quite put my finger on that one. Black is just shuffling here. Queen c8. Bishop e1 is the follow-up, and this I can make much more sense of with these pawns fixed. All right, this diagonal is ready to open up once you have played f3 or f4. Rook f7 from here, and still no f-pawn move. We have bishop e2. The best way I could describe this, it's a waiting move in a way. What is black's way to improve here with the pieces? If ever a capture, pawn takes is there. Keep the pawn around to offset this fianchettoed knight. What's your forward move? As black in the game, we have rook b8. If queen d7 is played, well, what happens is rook b8 and then f4 followed by pawn takes on f3 en passant. And in response to that, the rook does the recapturing. That's considered best. Here's where knight recaptures can show up as best in that position. If black at this stage, after bishop e2, plays a forward move, let's say queen d7, it seems, from human perspective, a natural move. Maybe next up this. Okay, I have queen d7 and now f4 and then capture en passant. This becomes very dangerous. Black in this position does not have time to capture on g4. Note the bishop is masked because of this, and there is one less direct defender of g4, but capture here, there's knight e5, and that is crushing. Okay, this, I guess, chalk it up as a waiting move. Something even deeper, maybe, is that one day maybe the bishop has an eye on bishop a6 to influence the b-pawn. Run with the passer. All right, in this game we have rook b8. Finally, we see a pawn advance. f4. E takes f en passant. Rook recaptures here. If you take with the knight, this point is collapsing. We have rook captures pawn. Rook back to a8. Get out of the way. Maybe a knight move, maybe a bishop move to f3. Pawn takes, knight e4, and from here, knight f3. If you take on e4, this pawn is disruptive, takes away this f3 square from many white pieces, so Leela simply works around this knight. The bishop, pretty cool here, offsetting the knight, c3 secure. Time to reposition the knight. This is where you really see the difference between the knights. I mean, g7 versus h2, neither so bright, but look how quickly the knight on h2 becomes a fantastic piece. In fact, it's a blink away from being best on e5. All right, from here we have knight g5. No thank you. I'm going to keep this knight around, work around this piece, no problem. Rook exchange, queen recapture. This knight challenged straight away, supported with the now very active bad bishop. Knight exchange, bishop recaptures, queen d7, queen e1, queen g3, rook f8, king scoots over. We see a rook exchange, and from here, queen e7. So something I tested out here, rather than queen e7, what's happening if black goes for this g4 pawn? It's only supported twice. If black adds a third attacker, what do? Best is to swipe bishop for knight exchange, bad bishop for knight, and then continue with g5. And this is one continuation. I came across here this idea to play bishop f3. Let's say bishop f5, queen e5, and this is where you can have a sacrifice on d5 shortly. So something like this. Knight takes d5 is a winning path, with the idea to recapture with the bishop, and then we see this b pawn finally show itself in this more simplified position, this ending phase. If pawn takes in this position, there's b7. Queen is there supporting promotion next with check. The b pawn is poisoned. Check, check, and you win the queen through the skewer. So we don't see black try to, in this position right here, target g4. It is queen e7, king g2, h6, knight reposition, queen f4. This is hit, bishop goes back, queen f3, knight offsetting the knight on f6, king h7, queen g3, knight going back. Look at the difference between the knights. Wonderful piece. Nothing was happening when it was on c3. Much more powerful piece here on d3. Excellent jump on e5 or f4. Ideally placed knight right behind the pawn. Bishop d7. Welcome the bad for good bishop exchange. e5 has opened up for the knight. Bishop h4 keeps pressure on the bishop, and now what? As black, what do? There's this intersection square on h6. You can't go too far with the bishop. You can't go to f6 with the knight. You cut off the defense of the bishop. Tricky spot for black. The play from here is with g5. See what just happened? Okay, the bishop is attacked, but beyond that, this bishop is now dead. This diagonal, nothing happening here. It can be easily worked around. Leela from here is essentially playing up a piece. Bishop backs off. Let's see the improvements from here. Big improvement for the knight, the queen, the bishop. Pop quiz. What is your move here? Feel free to pause the video. Finally, we get to see the value of that b6 move way back when. There's now a sacrifice on c6. Pawn takes knight. Bishop d6, why not? Pretty much a one-directional piece. Much better on d6. You get there with tempo. Who knows, maybe you connect with the queen on f8 one day. Queen g7, bishop e5, out of the pin, pawn advances. From here we have knight d7. If queen captures pawn, queen captures knight is winning. Queen ready to enter. You're also on the bishop. With this line, there's no fear of queen b2 check. They run out very soon, so something like this. After queen g2, there's no good follow-up check. They are all covered. So that wouldn't be a try. There is nothing good here left for black. After b7, no queen takes pawn, knight d7. Queen captures queen. King captures queen. Another pop quiz. How would you continue here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, don't promote. You can do better. This pawn came a long way. 4 tempi to get here. You want to promote and maintain that queen. If you play b8, that's only good enough for a draw. The winning way is with bishop b5. Just breaking down c6. You're just going to collect the pawn next if no pawn captures bishop, and then swipe the knight, and then promote. This bishop has no say in any of this. We see in the game pawn takes bishop, and now we work with these connected passers. This is beautiful. Knight takes bishop. There's no stopping the pawns. Black is able to track one of them, but not both. And the queen does her thing from here. let us see the finishing touches to this fantastic game. Leela, being Leela, of course, ending this game with an under promotion for mate. I thought that this was a wonderful game. I gotta say, I want to, the tactics there at the end, the sacrifice on c6, the bishop b5 move, that's all well and good, but I really like how things were, going all the way back here, how things were organized on the king side, really kicking off with these moves here. King h1, rook g1, g4, g2 for the rook, g1 for the queen, f1 for the rook, and then a little bishop reposition here. And only after this setup here, shooting for the f4 break. It almost makes you feel like you could pull this off in your own games, but it's never quite so simple. But I really like the style of play here. I think it's wonderful. Anyhow, your thoughts with this one, feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.